Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
Peter and Dave, they're on the mic, so alright. Join the ride, it's gonna feel just right.
Welcome back to the Pulse Community Podcast. Where am I here? Hang on. I'm Dave Graham. You know, I'm just going to blame the time change on me losing my focus, my edge. I've lost my edgy focus, Peter.
And I'm Peter McCulley. Yes, we turned the clocks back for daylight saving time. It affects some people more than others. It means that it gets dark, at now 4:30?
It's nature's way of telling us to start eating dinner earlier, which I'm not opposed to. That leaves more time for dessert. But, Peter, this is frivolous compared to the solemn occasion coming up, which is Remembrance Day. We had the special and rare opportunity to speak to a World War II veteran.
That war ended 80 years ago, so to find a veteran able and willing to talk is quite remarkable. Our honored guest agreed to share some thoughts for the younger generations as November 11th approaches, but he agreed, provided we not mention his name. This hero does not want to live in the past. His intention is to not see the past repeated.
I don't count it as a personal sacrifice in any way because it's all aboard me. You don't find it out in the newspapers. You don't find it out with young people these days. They've got great lives going and have super time. It's up to them to keep it going.
Also this week, Darin Brown, chair of the Oceanside chapter of Ducks Unlimited Canada. The upcoming annual fundraising gala event is on November 8th at the Qualicum Civic Centre, and they are supporting the purchase and preservation of Hamilton Marsh.
We, Ducks Unlimited, attempted twice to purchase the property, and it didn't come to fruition for various reasons. I think it's really critical that we save these special places for future generations. If we don't, it could really impact the area for sure, especially when you take a look at a lot of the population growth in the area here. They become really critical because you start taxing your water sources. If you let them go, you're not getting them back.
More from Darin Brown and Ducks Unlimited in just a little while here. The clock is ticking loudly on resolving that Hamilton Marsh issue. I just want to focus briefly here on our expanded lineup. At the Pulse Community, we have now included a football podcast with Aaron and Jonathan Fraser from the Courtenay-Comox region. They talked NFL on their most recent episode, and Jonathan, who is a chef, included a bonus downloadable recipe for Kansas City-style smoked barbecue ribs.
Dave tried to make those ribs. Let's just say the smoke alarm got more of a workout than his taste buds.
I didn't know you could wear a smoke alarm out, but be forewarned, it's not a recipe to start just before company arrives. While prep time is only about a half hour, the ribs will need to cook for, close to half a day.
Parksville City Councillors Joel Grenz and Sean Wood broke down one of the most talked about issues in local government, housing. What's the difference between market and non-market housing? Why is non-market housing so hard to build?
These are important questions affecting all of us. And then we have the youngsters among us. We make sure there's something for everyone here at the Pulse Community. Our Skookum Kid Story this week features Peter and Gracie the Eskimo dog learning about Remembrance Day. Oh, and the kids can color along with the stories.
We now offer printable, downloadable coloring pages to go along with each new episode. And Dave, I just want to say you're getting better at staying inside the lines.
As a crayon artist, I feel lines can be very limiting sometimes, but they can also be useful. And who says skies have to be blue? On another note, our growing podcast family also includes our Radio Archaeology Classic Radio Series. This week, we're featuring an original episode of Dragnet with Sergeant Joe Friday.
You'll find these podcasts and more at thepulsecommunity.ca.
At Thrifty Foods, we love to help nonprofits, charities, and schools. Our Thrifty Foods Smile Card bulk program allows organizations to immediately save up to 6% on the purchase of Smile Cards in bulk, allowing you to keep more money in your organization's pockets. Ask for details at Thrifty Foods in Parksville.
Windsor Plywood in French Creek specializes in hard-to-source interior and exterior home finishing products, including flooring, doors, and moldings. Windsor Plywood French Creek carries high-quality, responsibly sourced products and are committed to providing outstanding value and personalized one-on-one service to all of our customers: homeowners, do-it-yourselfers, renovators, builders, designers, craftsmen, and contractors. Regardless of the type or size of your project, Windsor can help you bring your vision to life from start to finish. Let Windsor Plywood in French Creek help you with your renovation, new build, or building project. Call 752-3122.
Remembrance Day is approaching. With it, we are encouraged to wear a poppy and attend a ceremony and think about the life we get to live thanks to the sacrifices that were made. But for those of us far removed from war, it can be challenging to fully grasp how freedom isn't free and how each generation has a responsibility to protect it. And so we sat down with a hero from the Second World War and asked about the message that he would like to pass along to others about Remembrance Day. He doesn't want to live in the past, and so he asked that we not mention his name, allowing us instead to simply focus on his message.
You mentioned when we were sitting down for this conversation that you lost sleep last night thinking about this morning's conversation. We don't ask you to recall necessarily. We're looking for your message.
You have to go back to get a message that is really serious. That means going to a veteran's graveyard. Mostly you find people who lost somebody there. As a result, it's not a general thing, but to us, there were a lot of people died. And a lot of families suffering. And in the end, the big question was, for the what? They're still monkeying around.
Prior to our beginning this recording, we talked about the importance of maintaining the message and the memory because the kids these days have no concept of what it was like.
In a way, it may be a good thing. It's hard to put behind death and the people who suffered through it. But the whole thing is we have to keep our eyes open, not stray into the situation that it was. It depends on people nowadays and consciousness that it existed at one time quite a while back, and a lot of people suffered, but so far, so good.
Have you any ideas as to what a young person can do? Say it were tomorrow, they'd say, I'd like to do something to keep this message alive, to connect with the people that were there and the sacrifices they made. What can they do to keep that memory going?
I think that Memorial Day should be perhaps exaggerated a little more, where we get a little more feel for what's been and what's here now after all these years. And really the only way to bring it to the fore is, I guess, talk to people who've been there.
Any other message or thoughts that come to mind that you'd like to share with the world on this occasion?
When I think about it, I take a look at the world, and it appears to me to be not far from another major problem. Call it war, but today it's not the shooting, it's the industrial end and the treatment of people and various groups, populations.
I think there's a message that I'm hearing through this too, which is by keeping the concept of your sacrifice fresh in mind, we're, I think, given more fortitude and motivation to avoid further conflict.
Just having a look at the programs on television today, which didn't exist back then, it's a hard comparison, but it's pretty obvious that it's a talking item, but there's no point mentioned to bring this to a head, so to speak, peacefully. That's the way I feel about it. Yeah.
When you get up in the morning, what do you look forward to? What brightens your day?
I'm old and could go any time. I'm very fortunate to have gone this long and bear the thoughts of what were, and I still think probably once a day at least, my thoughts are going back to, it could have been Jim's birthday today, but he was killed in the war. Yeah.
This is part of your sacrifice, what you have to live with.
I don't count it as a personal sacrifice in any way because it's all aboard me. You don't find it out in the newspapers. You don't find it out with young people these days. They've got great lives going and have super time. It's up to them to keep it going.
I don't suppose you're that comfortable with the concept of being a hero, but you are, sir.
When I think of the word, there were thousands of them. Nobody was a hero. He was helping somebody else in a bad time and that, but nobody got out and called the roll and said, oh, Jim helped 4 guys get out of a bombed-out shelter or something like that. It wasn't that way. It was a personal situation. Everybody was your buddy because they had the same function. Get the war over with.
I thank you again for your service and your sacrifice and your time today, and it has been an honor to talk with you. Thank you again.
Thank you for publicizing it. Here we are close to Memorial Day, and we had a parade down the street, and it's a glowing situation. When I see it, it brings back the memories. So it's 2 different things for me. And I'm glad in a way because the young people should be kept aware, but happy to be here having fun.
Remembrance Day is Tuesday, November 11th.
Also coming up is the Tinamara Toy Drive for the SOS. We here at the Pulse Community Podcast remind you that Thrifty Foods in Parksville is a drop-off location for the toy drive. Until November 12th, you may drop off your new unwrapped toy, gift card, and food bank donations at the Parksville store.
And we've arranged for a couple of prizes, too. When you make your donation, ask for a ballot and enter a draw for one of 2 fabulous gift baskets valued at $200, thanks to Thrifty Foods in Parksville.
Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
Peter, we can't let the moment pass without at least a quick comment on what was the closest Canada has come to a World Series win in over 30 years. For it to go the full 7 games was only fitting, and for the 7th game to go into extra innings was only appropriate. And I count myself lucky that after decades of boycotting the sport, ever since the players' strike of the mid-1990s, I think I'm over it now. I picked this series to rejoin the fun because, as far as entertainment goes, this series was an out-of-the-park Grand Slam home run winner, and it will surely go down in the history books as one of the finest examples of its kind.
Hear, hear. This is the Pulse Community Podcast, available on Amazon, iHeart, Apple, TikTok, and YouTube. Plus, you'll find us on Instagram and Facebook. We are at our best when this becomes a conversation, so please feel free to contact us. We'd like to have your feedback. We appreciate your comments, and we value your suggestions. Our next story came about because of exactly that kind of interaction. Here's Marilyn.
In the green room is Darin Brown, chair of Oceanside Ducks Unlimited, to talk about the annual fundraising gala event on November 8th at the Qualicum Civic Centre and their support for the purchase and preservation of Hamilton Marsh, a 360-hectare forest and wetlands in the French Creek Community Watershed.
Darin, thank you for joining us on the Pulse podcast. Good to have your company today.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
Can you tell me a little bit about Ducks Unlimited Canada and their role in conservation?
Ducks Unlimited is a nonprofit environmental organization that was started in 1938 and is dedicated to the conservation, restoration, and management of wetlands and their associated habitats to support North America's waterfowl. The organization started up in Winnipeg by a bunch of Canadian hunters and conservationists in response to some of the declining wetlands in the area back in the 1930s. They were wondering why there weren't too many ducks around at that particular time. So they collaborated together, and they were trying to figure out what the problem was, and they worked out pretty good. The other thing about Ducks Unlimited is we have about 600 wetlands in British Columbia. We either own them or partly own them with some of our other partners in conservation. We manage some of the properties as well for them. A good example of one of the properties locally that we work with was the Fanny Bay Estuary. That original property was a farm at one particular time. The partners acquired the property, and Ducks Unlimited came in and we modified that particular site. So there's a whole series of channels that are all in a wiggly line, I guess, all through the estuary. It was done on purpose because when waterfowl come to that particular site and they're having their little ones, they don't like looking down a straight line and seeing another duck down there with the little ones. So it was a lot of shelter and protection for them to be comfortable at that particular site. So that's just one example of how we modify certain sites to enhance it for wildlife.
There's a lot of work being done. There's a lot of property to attain and manage. This must take scads of money, as my mom used to say. Where does it come from? How do you raise money? And any other details, financially speaking, you care to add?
There's a couple of different venues where we get our funding from. Ideally, we get it from some of the private sector and some of the corporations. They'll kick in some money. The other place that we get some of our money from is international backing. Even though we're Ducks Unlimited Canada, there's also a Ducks Unlimited US and a Ducks Unlimited Mexico. And a lot of the waterfowl, they don't recognize borders. So they'll fly over Canada and they'll head south to Mexico in the wintertime, and then they'll return to the Arctic later on. So we have this agreement, and we get funding from both those organizations. The third way is through government grants, either provincially or federally. Usually the money that comes in is earmarked for certain projects when we talk about enhancement. So we rely on quite a bit of funding from the government grants. And then nationally, we have volunteers across the country, different chapters, and then our board of directors will come in with different campaigns, like Ride for Ducks. So that particular campaign was all about getting on a mountain bike or a road bike and putting so many kilometers in. You were sponsored, then you would collect those funds and that would be donated to Ducks Unlimited. So that'd be a national campaign. The last one is at the chapter level. That's what we call volunteers for Ducks Unlimited in all the different locations. We call them chapters. And the funding that we do at the chapter level is usually the annual dinner. And that's a fundraising dinner where we have a nice meal, we have live music, we try to raise as much money as we can. For us in the Oceanside Ducks Unlimited chapter, we typically would raise anywhere from about $30,000 to $55,000 at our dinner. That's kind of how we raise our money. The one thing to note is if we raise $1 for Ducks Unlimited, we also leverage that with all these other partners. So sometimes that $1 can turn into $8 or $6, depending on the economy at the time.
Can you talk a little bit about any other projects within this region that Ducks Unlimited is involved in?
We're pretty fortunate here in the Oceanside area just because of our weather. We can do stuff all winter long. We're pretty lucky that way. So For most of the chapters, the bread and butter of the events is actually the dinner. But we have a whole bunch of other events that we do here on the island, particularly in the Oceanside area. So in the spring, we usually go out and we help Carrie and her group at the Hamilton Marsh tours. So we'll set up a tent. We'll have some education for all the public coming through the gates on what Ducks Unlimited is all about. And we usually have some fun little crafts for the kids as well. So they really enjoy that. And then as they come out of the marsh, we've got some candy for them too. So that gets them on the right path when they're heading home, wakes them up a little bit. And then as we go into the summer, we have Conservation Day. It's corporate sponsored. We have the Royal Bank. We've worked with them, and then also Cascade Recovery. So what the Conservation Day is, we invite the corporation into our wetland, or a wetland, and this particular one, Nanoose. We invite Cascade Recovery to come to that one. We remove invasive species, brush out trails, pick up garbage on the foreshore, and provide a little bit of TLC. And at the end of that event, we have a little social. You have to have a social after you work hard. And then they usually make a donation to Ducks Unlimited. So that was actually another way of getting some funding. Typically, that event goes in July. But with the weather, the way it's been over the last few years, a lot of that wetland is full of water, so we can't go in and remove invasive species. So that has now been pushed more to September. Based on climate change, things changed. So we've been doing that event going into September. The third event that we would do is the mentored hunt. So the mentored hunt is a kind of initiative to get young adults, teens in particular, from the age of about 16 to 18, out from behind the TV, out behind the phone as well, learning about the natural environment around them and what they have in the backyard here. We are working with School District 69 and Darren Carmichael in the Roams program. We have some of the youth that come in on the weekend and we teach them duck identification, animal identification. The Sunday they would work with firearms and get familiar with them. Then the volunteers would take them out the next weekend and they'd set up a blind and they'd try to shoot a duck or a goose. But if you're going to do that, you're going to clean it and you're going to barbecue it and you're going to eat it. So it's actually quite a fun program, and we've got some great photos of the kids. That's a popular one as well. Then we get into our fundraising. So that's the 8th of November for us, but that fundraising at the Qualicum Civic Centre, we'll have about 250 at the dinner. We have a wonderful meal. We have lots of skill games and then raffles and a great meal. And we have our famous oyster bar too, so that's really popular. That's what a lot of our effort goes towards. And the last program that we have is called the BC Marsh Keeper Program. That was developed here in the Oceanside in 2017. We have a marsh keeper that goes out to each one of our wetlands. They do waterfowl counts, and they also take a look at infrastructure on those sites. Some of the infrastructure would be drop box concrete structures that regulate the water in each wetland. But if they're not maintained or looked at, they can become a liability for Ducks Unlimited. Our marsh keepers, they do a report and everything is done digitally, and they push a button when they're in the field and all their information goes right to Ducks Unlimited. That program started here in the Oceanside area, now went nationally back in April. It's being introduced to Alberta, Saskatchewan. Quebec already has it, and that was just a few of us here in the Oceanside area that started it. So that's been a lot of fun. Those are just some of the programs that we have. By being very diverse, people can pick and choose what they want to do. And if they only want to volunteer like 2 hours, they can pick whatever they want. And then it keeps them engaged all year long so you don't lose the volunteers, which is really important.
Moving on to Hamilton Marsh, could you talk a little bit about, for the unfamiliar, where it is and what makes this place special?
The Hamilton Marsh lies just at the foot of the Mount Arrowsmith Mountains near Hilliers and is owned by Mosaic Forest Management. The actual wetland itself is 36 hectares and is encompassed by just the beautiful 300-hectare coastal Douglas fir. It's a threatened ecosystem and underrepresented on the east coast of Vancouver Island. The wetland is also located in the French Creek watershed and the Little Qualicum watershed. which is critical for filtering water and storage of clean water. And ultimately, that's the water that we drink. That's what the water that comes out of the tap. The other thing that's unique about the wetland is it's internationally recognized as a biosphere because of the remarkable qualities in the region. That's pretty amazing when you've got that in your backyard and that designation. And the Hamilton Marsh in itself, the wildlife that is there's quite a bit of red and blue listed species at risk. That would include pygmy owls, great blue heron, Roosevelt elk, and there's additional wildlife out there too, bears, cougars, there's pileated woodpeckers, so it's very diverse. And that particular site, there's a real high water table, so there's a lot of brush and a lot of different types of structure, which makes it really important. It's worth protecting, absolutely.
I heard a couple of references in terms of the services wetlands provide. I remember, I think it was some years back, in fact, somebody even tried to put a number as to were we to try to replicate what wetlands do for us, an X number of millions of dollars. And I'm not asking for an answer to that by any stretch, but any other aspects about wetlands that are good for us to know?
Wetlands, they're key in reducing flooding. They're great at minimizing erosion and drought. So as the water comes down out of the mountains, we rely on that snowpack in order to fill the cisterns and the water supply for the community. But as the water comes down and goes into a wetland, it's a big catchment area, so it stores the water. As the weather changes, when you go into the summer, it starts releasing some of the water. It releases at a slow rate, so it's not eroding the banks or anything like that. So it really minimizes any sort of erosion and drought. The other thing is they're also great wildlife habitats. So the animals that use those particular sites, they're using it for food, shelter, water, and security at that particular site. But ultimately, it's creating clean water for the community.
So talk, if you will, about why Oceanside Ducks Unlimited has an interest in this wonderful place we call the Hamilton Marsh.
The Hamilton Marsh is one of the largest and most ecologically significant wetlands on Vancouver Island. The Hamilton Marsh provides essential habitat for countless species of birds and wildlife, helps maintain water quality, and offers opportunities for education and recreation in the area. Our Ducks Unlimited committee is committed to raising awareness and funds to help safeguard this unique ecosystem for future generations. That's really important for us as a committee. We've also got some invested time into this project. We, Ducks Unlimited, attempted twice to purchase the property, and it didn't come to fruition for various reasons, but we want to see that it's protected. It doesn't matter who protects it, whether it's the RDN or some of our partners in that, but I think it's really critical that we save these special places for future generations. If we don't, it could really impact the area for sure, especially when you take a look at a lot of the population growth in the area here. They become really critical because you start taxing your water sources. If you let them go, you're not getting them back. That's really critical. That's one of the reasons why we really focus on the Hamilton Marsh and trying to get that protected with all our partners as well. It's really important to all of us.
Here has arisen this third opportunity, and what kind of a role do you see in making this deal happen?
I would say that with the initial purchase price of $30 million, the RDN is kicking in quite a bit of money as well. That's leaving the rest of the partners with about $7.5 million to try to get the funding in place for the deal as well. That's our goal. We're working with all the partners to try to hit that mark. The one thing that Ducks Unlimited Oceanside is excited about the opportunity to donate our net proceeds from our November the 8th gala event to the Hamilton Marsh purchase.
There's a time limit involved here, and we don't need to get into the weeds on that one, but a fair bit of money is needed fairly quickly. The listeners who are interested in supporting, what's their best move to get the most value for their donation?
I would say if you're interested in making a contribution to the Hamilton Marsh purchase, the best thing to do is get in touch with myself, Darin Brown with Oceanside Ducks Unlimited. We have pledge forms, and we can line those up for you. You can complete them. And at this point, we're just looking for pledges If you've decided to make a contribution, a little bit later on, we'll be contacting you to direct the funds for the purchase. The other option you would have is getting in touch with Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere. You can donate through them as well. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a shout at 250-951-1417. That's my contact information. And if you want to get in touch with the Mount Arrowsmith, just go to their website at www.mabr.ca and hit the donate button, and you can make a difference in protecting the Hamilton Marsh.
There is a fairly short timeline on here, so people should not dawdle, correct?
Correct. November the 24th. We have to have everything committed. Like people that want to pledge, all you have to say is, I'm going to pledge and X number of dollars. In January, that's when we'll be contacting and getting some of the funds. Unless you want to make the donation now, you're more than welcome to.
Darin, thank you so much, and best of luck on behalf of us all in your quest.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Darin Brown on behalf of Ducks Unlimited. We're pleased to be able to share this story because people can't support things they don't know about. Again, the Ducks Unlimited Gala is November 8th at the Qualicum Beach Civic Centre. Last time we checked, there were just a few tickets remaining.
The words of Joni Mitchell come to mind in regards to us not knowing what we've got until it's gone. Let's hope it doesn't get that far. But hope won't be enough to buy this land. I can't attend the gala, but I will publicly claim that I will go to the Hamilton Marsh website and pledge my support. To paraphrase further from Joni, we need to stop paving paradise to put up parking lots.
So it's time to wrap this up, Dave. You look about ready for a nap right now.
Well, we all react differently to this whole time change thing. I, for one, am feeling a hankering for chocolate, but that may be just my normal state of being. Oh, before we go, Peter, let's mention some future guests.
Actor-writer, soon-to-be producer, Chayla Horstel joins us to talk about her various TV and movie roles, including that of the Federation President in Star Trek Discovery.
A Federation President? That's like being the boss of space or something. Oh, maybe she could get us jobs on a starship.
The time change has really gotten to you, hasn't it? Also coming up on the Pulse Community, Nanaimo-based musician Vince Worry is celebrating the release of a new EP, and we'll see if he'll bring along a new Christmas song as well.
This is the same Vince Worry who's been in tribute acts featuring Led Zeppelin and The Doors and The Cult. The same Vince Worry who uses phrases such as unrelenting intensity and thunderous guitar work to describe his music, and he's coming out with a Christmas song. This I have to hear. Something else to look forward to is a new season of the popular podcast Island Crime, and host Laura Palmer will be here to talk about it.
Yes, true crime stories from our own backyard. Sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. Right, Dave? Dave?
Present. Sorry. Yes. Present. I'm sorry. What? Oh, did I miss chocolate? I might have nodded off there.
It's too early for napping. Let's go get you a coffee.
Well, make it a mocha. Maybe I'll cooperate.
You can get what you like. It's your turn to buy. Dave? Dave? Oh, never mind.
Here come Peter, here comes Dave. Oh, listen. Bringing stories, making waves. No missing.